everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am Coach Les, and I am here with Sujata Tiwari, who is on the other side of the planet in Singapore. And we have come together literally against all odds, no pun intended, because that is the name of Sujata's book, Against All Odds. No retakes, no manuals, real life lessons. And Sujata is someone who has accumulated a wealth of experience during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's a mother, a wife, a journalist, a consultant, an activist, a leader, and businesswoman domestically and internationally. And I am looking to set her up with a friend of mine here in Minnesota who is from Turkey. So talk about an opportunity here, who sells one of the world's best olive oils coming out of Turkey. So we are looking to do some international business. Sujata strives to provide readers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life, including dealing with a bald-headed coach in Minnesota, United States. So here we are. And I thank you all for being here. And today's topic, this is going to be a little bit heavy, and I think a lot of fun. Can we be wronged and not fight for positioning to be right? Looking down or looking up? Sharing the areas of training and development that are pertinent to today's business, family, or faith. And we're going to speak about all of it through the filters of communication and integrity. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Miss Sujata and let her at least say hello and welcome.
Hello and welcome. And it's always a pleasure dealing with Coach Les. Okay. As for this topic, it's quite deep, I would say. It's not heavy, but it is deep and it's reflective. So it will make us think. So I like the topic.
And you know, what had me suddenly think of doing this topic was the other day we were talking about collaboration. We were talking about a book and the critical laws of relationships, and the definition and the celebration of any relationship is dependent upon the clear definition of purpose and vision and the singleness of that purpose. And we live in a world where diversification and tolerance are concepts that are almost worshipped right now. The necessity for unification and singleness of purpose has nearly been lost. So as we look at this, there are a couple of little quotes that I want to share with everybody. One is, Satan cannot arrange your demise, but he is the author of confusion. And division is simply just two visions. So as we look at this today, and as we go into this conversation, I want to look at how do we be responsible if somebody else's vision is different than ours, and in the making of the difference of our vision, it occurs like they're looking down at us. And conversely, if we are sitting, listening to, and sharing with somebody who, in our estimation, may occur to be well-versed, more well-versed than ourselves, do we look up to them as being right? Or do we do our own truth finding, testing, judging and assessing, and look at validating our own research? So I'm excited to talk about this, see what shows up in the conversation today, and give some people some things to think about. Because clearly this isn't going to be an opportunity that is having people think outside the box. So with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Brother Joey and see what he has to share with us to get us started, and look forward to hearing what you have to say, Brother Joey.
Awesome. And I feel like we've definitely had this discussion before, and so I'll share a little bit first before I just go right to in the past I've gone right to a scripture, or I said, yeah, it's someone wronged me, and I kind of like took it and stuff like that. I'll expand though a little bit more on a quick thought here. For me, Coach, I think that I have to really think about my reaction to when I feel that I may have been wronged or something didn't go my way, and it needs my attention. And the reason why I say that I personally have to do that, because the reason why I say I personally have to do that is because I do have the stinking gene, the stinking thinking gene, or whatever you want to call it, that ability to think and falsely think. So the first thing I'll just quickly say is I have to really study and examine what the offense is, and I have to identify if it was an offense. So that's for me first that I have to do, Coach. And then if it is an offense, I also have to pass it through a process, because I will say this: I have been on both sides of, I'm going to let something slide, or I'm going to prove myself right, or I'm going to not allow someone to offend me, and I'm going to fight it. And I'll say this: that's exhausting, and it's exhausting. It is. It's really exhausting. And sometimes and there's been plenty of times where I realized after processing it that I was at peace by just letting something go, and I was at peace knowing that, you know what, my side of the story, I know the truth. Do I really have to go around? I mean, if I wanted everyone to know the truth, yeah, that's so much work. So I chose my own inner peace and my own inner whatever you want to call it. And I had a major one, right? I had a major one that I've shared in the past. I was fired from a church that I probably could have really dug in and fought, especially since people didn't know if I did something immoral. They didn't know if I cheated on my wife. Most of the time when someone gets fired from the church, there's a couple of reasons. Usually you did something pretty bad to get fired from the church, which wasn't the case. And I lived with that. I lived with that fact that that's not what happened. And I wasn't going to chase down, though, this desire to be, hey, I'm over here, I'm right, I was wrong. I let that go, and I think I ended up saving a lot of agony and a lot of time and I gained a lot of peace from it. Although clearly I went through a terrible time, but I think I would have went through even more. I think I would have suffered even more had I tried to stand on some box and yell, "I'm right, he was wrong, he should have never done that to me." So that's my thought, Coach, and I'll pass it back to you guys.
All right. Thank you so much. So funny. I just got a text from somebody that says, I wish I could come in and talk in your rooms. Maybe one of these days you'll let me talk. And I'm not sure, Joey or Emmanuel or Sujata, but I'm pretty confident that anybody that wants to say anything, unless we're closing the room, has an opportunity to come up and share. Would everybody agree with that, or?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, coach.
All right. I just want to make sure that I'm not misreading this person's text, because they their comment was, thank you, Coach Les. Maybe one of these times I'll be able to speak instead of just listening.
And Coach, that's interesting. And, so like what I just said, like, where do we draw the line as far as, we were wrong, we got to put ourselves right. So you didn't ask, for us to say, how should you handle that? But so I think a situation like that, though, does possibly deserve some clarity. Like, okay, someone makes that comment. What do you mean by that? And I don't feel like that's defending. I think that we are allowed to ask for clarity when comments are made, especially something like that. But
yeah,
I thought you didn't ask for it. But
no, it's great, because this is how I answered. I said, come back and come and share your views. It's about as easy as I can make it.
There you go.
So I look at Clubhouse is very open. So I trust that we'll, as a community, we're going to continue to grow, and as a community continue to open the mics to people and to share. Hi, Amber, come on up if you'd like to come and join us on the stage. Lily Compare, come on up if you'd like to come up and share. I think Rebecca, I know I've invited you. You may not be able to. Lucia, come on up. Because I know that I don't have all the answers. I know Sujata may have all the answers, but I don't. And you should see the big smile I just got out of her when I said that. So with that, Emmanuel, what are your thoughts about the conversation? And I'll just share it one more time. Can we be wrong to not fight for positioning, to be right? When we look down or up, how do we deal with that?
Coach, sometimes silence doesn't mean you don't know how to fight, or you agree, or you have already concluded that you are defeated. And sometimes in life, it is good to be silent and allow things to work right. And most of the example I normally take is, there will be time people will not understand the angle you are coming from. Surpass mother yours, but they never knew. So they may try to be casting the blame upon you, trying to see everything that you are doing is wrong. You don't have to fight, or you don't have to make them know that you are right in a brutal form. My best advice is sometimes just be mute. Speaking will lead into trouble. A great example is taken from Jesus. And when Jesus stood before Pilate, after he has been accused falsely. Jesus never argued with him. He never entered into a conversation with him. He was silent. It does not mean that Jesus was guilty. It's necessary for you to listen, even though the word might be odd that I'm going to say. It's necessary for you to listen to the nonsense of people for you to gather the sense. To disagree, make yourself disagree to agree what other people are saying does not put you down, but it humble you so that you will take another step in life. I think I need to pause there, Coach.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Any thoughts for you, Sujata?
Yes, I think it all depends on the context and the situation. So even if we are wronged, but is it worthwhile to even get into an argument and prove yourself right when you know that it's not going to make any difference? And do we need to do it? Right? So we can just let it go. The power of silence or the power of choosing not to respond is sometimes, worth it than getting into words and communication which is not going to lead anywhere. In fact, it's going to make it worse.
I like it. Well, I know this. When it comes to judging and assessing, we all do it. So I'm going to start by saying, yep, we're all victims. We're all perpetrators. We all do it. The question is, the one place that we have a choice is how we react to it. Do we react to it like it's a live conversation? Do we react to it as if, don't label me, that's not me, don't say anything, I don't want to deal with this, stop it, so on and so forth? Or is there another option? And how do we create that other option? Because I believe that there is an opportunity here in this conversation tonight to really build a new foundation for all of us to leapfrog off of. So, Sujata, tell me a little bit about your experience with people in India and Singapore around blame.
That's a good one. So, in India, I would not even bother with most conversations because it would not make any difference, and you would have to, go into high decibel volumes to even be heard. So, it's not worth your energy or your time to get into a slanging match if you know that it's not going to lead to anywhere. So, unless it is something like a legal case where you have to prove yourself right, I don't even bother with most things that happen in the Indian context. In Singapore, since people are not very open, it's easier to manage because, things are measured and things are a little more thought through. And if you are mistreated also, or if somebody's putting you down, I still maintain that, you know, unless it's really important to me, or the person is important to me, or the relationship is important to me, I won't even bother. I'll just be silent because, as I always say, that how people choose to behave, it's reflection of themselves. It's not a reflection on me. So I can choose my responses. I cannot choose other people's responses, can I?
Nope.
Nobody can. So if you are mistreating me, then it's a reflection of your character. And now if I choose not to get bothered by it, then I choose not to get bothered by it, right? If you're walking on the road and a dog barks, we don't stop and bark back, do we? We continue walking.
I will. No, exactly.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought was very interesting, I did a human experiment the other day, and I went into a room on Clubhouse, one that you're familiar with, but I didn't say anything. I didn't go up on stage. I just sat there and listened. And I learned a few things, and I sent a back channel message to the leader of the room. And I said, good to hear you again. Thank you for challenging my brain and my listening. Always appreciate you. Didn't hear anything. And then yesterday I got a text back in the evening. Of course, I would only assume as much as I appreciate you also. Cheers. Yeah. And it surprised me because I was pleasantly surprised because it was out of character for that person, at least part of the character that I see. Right?
That's what I say. Sometimes we don't judge a book by its cover.
Or by its bark.
Yes, or by its bark.
Because there are times when people bark. And they bark and we got all nervous and worried and I think in that nervousness and in that worry, we do stuff and we react in such a way that it occurs as an attack to the person.
Yes. Whereas if we listen with detachment,
Yes.
we will not be affected by what the person is saying all the time.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Hi, Sister Jeanette. Oh, go ahead.
Janet. No, I said I see Janet in the room.
Hi, Sister Jeanette.
Here.
Did Remy get back in the room yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, I have it running out there, so it'll keep going. Thank you for being here. Sujata, why don't you share with Sister Jeanette what we're chatting about so she can chime in.
So it's a deep topic, Janet, today. It's on, can we be wronged and not fight for positioning to be right? Looking down or looking up? What are your thoughts?
Oh, did we silence Jeanette? Go ahead, Emmanuel. I saw you flash.
I don't want to say anything.
Okay. Sister Jeanette, I saw you flash too. Go for it.
Oh my gosh, you guys have such deep topics. Yes. And yes, there's times when I have been wrong and I just stay silent because I want to hear the whole perspective. I want to hear it all. And sometimes, you know, and I know a lot of people have done it. I've seen them do this, where you could see that they want to go in and say, no, you're wrong, but they listen. But then they take the discussion in a whole different direction. And when it comes back down, the person that's wrong actually admits they were wrong. All they had to do was take the emotion out, humble themselves to actually be present, to listen to what is actually happening. I don't know if that makes sense, but sometimes they're just very emotional or very wound up, and it's not the right time to go about and defend that you're right and they're wrong. So you just have to be present in order to have that communication, so that you can have a discussion and hear each other out. So that's part of my take.
Love it. Risha, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me back in.
Well, I apologize. We, FYI, Risha, if myself or Jeanette or Sujata or Joey, and we haven't had Emmanuel running a room yet, but I want you to know, if we ever have rooms, you are always 100% of the time welcome on stage, and always welcome to share.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. Well, as far as this topic goes, I have to say, I have to give many, many thanks to God and my ex-wife for teaching me exactly how to do just that. Let someone be wrong and not say a single word, because I was terrible at that before. They both taught me so well how to do that, and it actually comes quite handy in my current job as a property manager, because it seems like you know, everybody just wants to come and they either complain about what's going on, or when they're doing something wrong, it's never their fault, and they just want to keep on saying all the wrong things. And the patience that I prayed for was delivered to me in the form of a contentious woman. And that's why we're no longer married, but I do appreciate her, and she is the mother of my children, so I do have much love for her at the same time. But without those lessons, I think I would still be quite impatient and trying to prove myself right. And it's great because I teach my kids as well. When they're fighting, the two girls, they're almost 5 and 7. When they're fighting, I like to ask them a lot of questions. And one of the questions I say is, in this situation, is it better for you to be right, or is it better for you to be kind? And most 95% of the time, it's better to be kind.
Amen. I love it. Whoops.
Yeah, that's all I got for now. But that's I think it's perfect, because I've definitely been practicing that, and man, it's just funny to observe yourself doing these things and saying, I didn't used to act this way, and look at how well I'm handling the situation. And I'm not perfect. I definitely still make many mistakes, but it's really fun to step back and have, especially my ex-wife, saying things that I would normally really want to react to, and just nodding my head and allowing her to speak, and okay, I respect your opinion, and moving on. Thank you, and I yield my mic.
Well, thank you so much, Risha. Appreciate the comment. And if I may, I have a tiny little bit of coaching for you, and an opportunity to shift your languaging, if you would allow me.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always the student, sometimes the teacher. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, there is a whole, if you look at my bio picture and you zoom in on it, you'll see 3 little circles in the lower left. One of them has an X, one of them has the word integrity, and then there is the word, then there is a nothing. And my logo is not accidental. It came about out of creating a conversation. And by the way, welcome to the stage to Brock and Kavendra. Thank you for being here. It came out of a conversation of the existence of languaging being construed as negative because of the filters that exist out in the world when certain words are spoken. And the word X, so the circle with the X in it, people think of off limits, they think of stop it, they think of canceled, something's over, terminated, don't enter, danger, and it usually has a very poopy negative connotation to the word X, as denoted by the fact that if you work for somebody and you no longer, they're your ex-employee, or you were married to somebody and they are no longer, they're your ex-husband or wife. The reason I say that we created that language of X is because we have, we want to cross them out of our life and keep them out of there. We've terminated that relationship. And as you shared, that relationship isn't terminated. It's actually just morphed into another one because she's the mother of your children. Therefore, knowing that and the way you speak with respect about that, there's this opportunity to look at the relationship and maybe even take some responsibility for the fact that the relationship is no longer one of marriage and unity and being together. And we look at being in that other person's world, not saying they're right or wrong, but looking for forgiveness, clarity, looking at unconditional love, sacrifice, looking at the impact on community, patience, compromise, refrain, maybe a little kindness, the safety that it can exist in the conversation, the trust that can be created in the conversation now and into the future, understanding, maybe even sobriety in some cases, being vulnerable, and sobriety not necessarily just in the drunken state or the alcohol or drug state, but sobriety as in the lessening of the evil that, or the upset and the anger that exists, and a transparency and being available. And when we look at that and we restore the integrity to that relationship, saying, look, it didn't work. We've chosen to separate. We've chosen to move on with our lives. And now our relationship is based on the children, based on other conditions and other people other than the two of us. And yet we can create a new place of listening for that other person and who they are in your life, i.e. the mother of your children. Therefore, how do you speak with respect to them for that, if that's warranted? X doesn't promote that respect. X promotes the cancellation, the negativity. So inside of creating another language for this and another opportunity, I looked at going, why don't we say former? Former wife, former husband, former boss, former, etc., and create an opportunity for the listening to shift, the children not to be surrounded by XXXXX, the people that in your life not hearing X, the person that is the X not hearing X, and creating another choice, another possibility, And when that integrity is restored to that thing called relationship, the circle ends up having nothing in it instead of an X. And with nothing, we can create anything. So the opportunity and for me to share with you is to re-language and call her your former wife. What do you think about that? Go ahead, Risha, and then Brock.
I think that's great. Yeah, I love a lot of what you said, because I already do view things in many ways that way. The one thing is definitely not being as conscious to the language, and obviously X is the most common term that society uses, so it's the go-to. But being more conscious about the language is incredibly beneficial, and I think it's a great point, and especially when it comes to the children. But it is good, because you bring to my awareness that I do already view it as a continuation of a relationship that takes a different form, so I do try and treat her that way. I don't try, I make effort to treat her that way, and let her know that I do care for her, and that I am still a part of her life, and that it is just a different form and continuation of a previous relationship. So yeah, definitely. I love that suggestion, and I will work on being more conscious about the language and shifting it to something much more positive. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And the interesting thing about it, before I hand the mic to Brock, is what people have said to me have been, so why do you say formerly? Because I've been married before. And I say, because there was a time when I loved her unconditionally and we were together and I wanted to be married. So she was formerly my wife, formerly my loved one, formerly the one of my choosing. And then there was a time that came to not being that. So to use the language of former, I think works beautifully. So with that, I want to hear what Brock has to say. Brock, the mic's coming to you.
Welcome, Brock, and thank you for being here.
What'd you say, Sujata?
I said welcome and thank you for being here, because I know that you don't normally go into other people's rooms. So for me, it's a big thing.
That's why I did it.
That's awesome.
So if you predate Augustine, X represented the Christians. And there's a story, and I don't know how factual this is, but X is to give up sin. To start to stray away from the natural desires of the human. It's a Christian thing. So before it predates the symbol of the cross, which is representative of Christianity now, which is very similar in shape, and except for it's a little bit longer. But yeah, it had to do. This was before Augustine made it to where Christians believed in a monotheistic God when they had no God. And then after Augustine stated that, we do have a God because he studied Plato, the X dissolved and the cross subsided. But I don't know, because when you read books of history, the books change based off the victor, so I don't know what is real.
Yes. Okay.
So symbolically, I think the X means how in nature we desire to sin. And the X is like the no, it's what I used to be. When I was a child, before I became a man, I used to do a lot of things. And then once I became a man, it became my X.
Interesting. I wonder how excommunicate came into being then.
What about Xmas?
Oh, with just the X and no E. Yes. Yep. That's a good one. Yeah.
That's why I think it's important to study everything, whether you like it or not, because just the information just makes the world so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, X is so ambiguous, right? And it carries, in most cases today, and I'm not all, but in most cases, it carries such a negative flavor. My thought process was to create a shift in that flavor, because I do know there are people that, well, yeah, she's definitely my ex. I would like to X her out of my life, la 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 la, or he's definitely an ex, rah rah rah, and I would like to cancel him or stop it. So, I understand that. I just look at what does that perpetuate in the conversational environment around us about who we are and what we're committed to. Does that communicate? Anybody?
Sorry, my brain was correlating things, and I had to Google it to see it. And I was like, wait, so X in the Greek alphabet means 10. Like, maybe the reason it's related to the Christians is because of the 10 Commandments.
Oh, uh-huh.
The rabbit hole gets deeper. What about X marks the spot? Maybe the spot is finding the self.
So I wonder what putting the E in front of the X does.
Makes it a word X.
Okay, Kavendra, come on, Kavendra. I know you're burning with some opportunity here, Kavendra.
You caught me at a point that I'm actually feeling like a little bit more flat than I normally am. So I just experienced suicide. My cousin passed away. So I'm not in the best mindset at this stage. So he made the big X and he exited our existence. And the strangest thing is that I spent the last 2 hours with him. And minutes later, I found out that he was dead in his house. And I witnessed seeing him dead on his driveway. So he basically killed himself in front of his spouse. So he did the big X and he exited my life. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not in the best space at the moment. But I'm coping, and I know it's hard, and I'm sorry I'm oversharing.
No,
but, this is my safe space, and I feel y'all are my tribe, and I could just be myself with y'all. So
thank you. Yes, thank you, Kavendra. I wish we could be there to support you personally, but we're here for you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jeanette.
Wow. Kavendra, my condolences. And my biggest concern is that and I invite you to not let any of what has happened weigh on you with any sort of responsibility.
My experience, and I'm using another X word, experience.
Yeah.
I believe that he came to me and he asked me for time, and I gave him my time, and he gave me his time. And I think that I celebrate his life because when I saw him in a happy moment. And because I'm so entrenched in community and making a difference, I had the community trauma unit that I am working with and raising money for contact me, not realizing that it's actually him that passed away. And less than half an hour prior, I had a drink with him and a social with him just to catch up and just spend time with him. And I think God has given me the privilege to actually have had that moment with him. So even though the tragedy that happened afterwards, I realized that I play a phenomenal role And I feel that when it comes to against all odds, I made it possible for him to be around family prior to him taking his own life. Initially, I felt guilty. I felt ashamed as if I did something wrong. And then I actually realized that God had a purpose and I was in God's, because I always believe that before someone passes on, the angels tend to come around that person and the light is around that person. And it's not always fair because we always argue, but I don't fight with God. I embrace God. I say, God, your angels arrived and he's with you. And, that's simply how I see it. And I think that, it's quite ironic looking at against all odds. I feel like my world is ending because I've lost a friend, a confidant, a cousin, a brother, someone that I had he lived on my road. He does, I can say that in past tense, he lived on my road. The victims unit called me to say there's an incident in the area. Do you have time? Would you come by? And even though I was like, I wasn't actually hesitant. I just said, yes, I'll be there, because my initial response is we are a community and we need to do that. Little I realized whatever I've been plowing in society, that I'd be giving back to my own family at a time of crisis. So basically he arrived home, his wife arrived home, they had an argument. He turned around and I wasn't aware that he owns a gun, and he basically took his life in front of his spouse. And later when I got to the house, I thought it was a neighbor or someone that was lying at the gate under a blanket and blood dripping down the driveway. Only to realize that minutes later, because I kept on phoning my cousin and asking, where are you? Where are you? There's a lot of things happening in your property. And to just I phoned the head of the trauma unit and I said, listen, who passed away? And the person echoes my cousin's name. And she says, it's your cousin that's passed on. And for me, it's just a huge amount of I completely broke down on the pavement outside his property because I was so supercharged about the fact that I've just spent an amazing afternoon. And in seconds, I was the last soul to actually see him. And he was in a very happy space. Being in my company, anyone is going to be in an amazing space. But I just thank God, and I thank God for opportunity, and I thank God for that, because I never heard his death from a stranger. I saw him alive, and I saw him dead. I saw him in just 3 hours. He went from being there to being no longer. And I'm forever grateful in a way, because purpose of having someone exist in your time frame, and the fact that you could give them a happy moment prior to their death, it's like a little bit of a tug of war. But I've learned through life that we often should always make your moments count. And I felt that the moments that I had with him was special. Now when I look back, I was like, wow, it actually did happen. And when it comes to Angel, it's like I had that privilege of being the last soul to actually really have seen him happy. And for that, my memory is happy, even though it turned out to be a disaster. But life goes on, and I, in my soul, am feeling a sense of heartache, loss, grief, and then I'm also feeling a sense of relief because whatever he's going through, he's released himself. The sad thing about a person that survives that, meaning the family and the rest of us, is that we start actually going through, we're picking up the pieces, but we don't know what we're picking up, because it's very hard to just have a void in your life. And I have been through death, I've been through supporting others, but I think it's always hard when it's closest to home. And it's something I've never really anticipated, but it's something I'm still processing. So I think I'm in the midst of that grief and that process. As much as I celebrated Spring Day yesterday in my mind, I still feel like my work has just started in terms of making an exponential impact in the greater society that I serve and I exist in. So a lot of X's there. And I think against all odds, God is with us, and we need to give faith a chance, and we need to believe in hope I'm here. Initially, I was a bit angry with the spouse, and then I realized that she's also suffering. In fact, she is worst off, and we need to just put ourselves aside against all odds, against all fates, and just liberate the situation and embrace the love that we have for family and coexistence. And I think this is where we primarily understand that we are God's children, and so is our society that we serve. That's me for now. I can share because I think a lot of me is in turmoil at the moment, and I feel that the experience that I'm going through is exponential, and I feel that his exit is actually not questioned by me, but I'm trying to not move on. I'm trying to actually just stay in the moment and remain very what's the word I'm looking for?
Attuned.
I'm trying to be in the moment, just to hope. It isn't easy. I'd say it so off the cuff, but I know of a greater purpose, and I know God is with me. And I've always said that He is my shepherd. He is in my existence, and I feel Him, and I think God has put me in a position to actually be with the soul prior to His exiting us.
So
because that's just how I feel at the moment.
I have a good word for you, Kavendra. Kavendra, I have a good word for you. Attuned.
Attuned. Okay.
ATT.
I've written it down.
ATTUNE.
I got it.
I think you will find some peace in that word. I also had something else I wanted to share, because you were the second person that has had somebody close in their life today. And I'm not sure what time this happened, but at 6 hours ago, one of my clients' son's friends took his own life. And and sometimes in those moments we never know what to say. And here's what I wrote, and I'll replace it with your cousin's name, your cousin's title. Lord, we come to you with open arms to ask for your touch on Kavendra's cousin and the family. Lord, we ask for warmth and comfort and understanding to be brought into the conversations and the community surrounding them. In Jesus' name we pray. Psalm 34, verses 18 to 19. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him or her out of them all. So may those words make a difference for you, and may the peace of his spirit be upon you and your family.
Thank you, Coach. We as Hindus, we use the word home shanti, home being the universal sound of the universe, and shanti is for the peace of the soul. So nicely put, and thank you for that words of comfort, and thank you for keeping the faith alive for me. I appreciate each and one of you all, but most importantly, I just appreciate having a sense of a community, and that's y'all are my tribe, and I appreciate that. So thank you for always embracing me and for accommodating me in sharing what's going through in my life, in my mind, in my moment. I appreciate, and I will use this to be there to share comfort to those that are also going through the journey that I'm experiencing at the moment. Thank you.
You're always more than welcome, and know that we are always there for you. So if ever you want to reach out and talk, we are there. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Sujata.
Mm-hmm. Risha or Emmanuel or Joey, feel free to pop off your mic and share if you would like.
Coach, I'm in a restaurant real quick, so I won't be able to share.
Okay. Emmanuel, go ahead.
I just want to say, sometimes in life, in concerning to us, cover that, sometimes in life, there are things that happen to us, or there are things that comes our way. We may want to question God, especially when it is in the process of our crucible. I know it is hard, especially for you to lose your loved one, and for you to hear the bad news that this particular person has been totally X from your life. I know it does not sound good, but I just want to encourage you. You need to keep up the faith. That's life. As I say, even though we walk through the fire, through the water, He's with us. Even in our darkest parts, He's still with us. We just pray that the living God will have mercy upon him and grant him salvation. And Coach, back to our topic, by the grace of the living God. And in terms of what Mr. Joyce was talking about, in accepting, you know that you are wrong, but you still want to prove points because you assume maybe if you say you are wrong, then whether you are going to feel high or low, something like that. And one thing about accepting the fact is you need to be sorry if you have done wrong. If you are not sorry within yourself, automatically you always think maybe accepting the fact that you are wrong, you will see yourself low. But if you are sorry within yourself that what I did is totally bad, what I did is totally wrong, and it's not be a big deal for you to accept your faults. I love giving most of my references from the Bible, really. And when you break to Psalm 51, the reason why the merciful prayer of David was accepted is because of David accepted his faults. David said, have mercy upon me, O Lord, according to thy loving kindness. And it continues to say, for I have sinned. I know I am wrong. I have sinned. So I think the best answer to that question, in line with the best answer to that question, whether you feel as if you are lowering yourself, or maybe you think the best answer to that question is you need to be sorry, you need to feel the wrong that you did. If you don't acknowledge that what you did is totally wrong, then automatically you will never get up to that stage for you to be, or for you to accept others, or for you to feel that whether I accept this thing, people are going to say this, or it doesn't matter what people are going to say, as long as you have accepted it within your heart that you are wrong. I think that's all I have to say for now, Coach.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you for sharing. One of the questions that I have for you, Kavendra, is there anything that, any way in which we could support you at this point?
Coach, I just being here, having this room, I'm already having a sense of support. I have spoken to a trauma counselor as well, and I've also got the support of my family and loved ones. A lot of them got a bit panicky because they thought that I was gonna do something stupid to myself. But in terms of support, I think just being there, it's we're not in the close proximities to be able to embrace each other. But just being there is great, and you can reach out to me, you can contact me. I'm on all the different social platforms and so forth. So just knowing that you all are out there, and I form parts of a greater community. I'm alone in my house. I'm alone in my area because the family's not close by. So everybody's been reaching out to me, and I appreciate the love and the, what I've received. I think a lot of people went into a panic mode, thinking that I will feel guilty for spending the last moments of his life with him. But I celebrate it, opposed to take it that way. So, Coach, just being there for me. And you can reach out. I'm on all social media. If you need more information, just DM me and I'll give you my details, and you can reach out and just be there for me. That's more than what I can actually have. So I'm grateful for everyone. I actually think I'm fine, but I know in my heart that the funeral's on Saturday. Until I've it'll take a while to really feel closure, but I also I keep faith alive. So I think if you DM me or you contact me, I would appreciate that, and that'll be great, because then I'm also speaking to my tribe and speaking to my family. Everybody's got questions, and I've stopped questioning death in the form of he's made his decision, but now we need to embrace those that are left behind. And I can't go back and ask him why he did this, because we've experienced suicide about 20 years ago with my cousin, another cousin of mine. And one of the things that crippled the family was the fact that we sometimes actually don't know emotionally what is happening in the lives of those that we love. But I've also surrendered, because my faith keeps me alive. My faith in God allows me to walk this path. And I asked myself why, and then I decided that asking myself why, I've been put with a purpose, and I feel that I live my purpose by being there for him. Even the outcome may seem negative, but I think he found peace in my person. And I've always been happily, like a very happy going person, a person of reason, a man of faith, a man of belief and hope. And I think I gave him all of those, and I think it's ultimately his decision. It's like taking a horse to a trough. You cannot force him to drink. But I didn't do any of the above. I gave him family. I gave him love. I gave him hope. I gave him my light. And Coach, I'm scratching my head in disbelief at one point, but today I'm releasing him, because I believe that he has reached his peace, and I need to be there for myself and for my loved ones, and show them the light in the moment of our family turmoil and disaster. I also spoke to the trauma counselor, and I said to her that my other cousin died 20 years ago, and it still haunts me, and it brought back those memories. And have I really coped? And I think that the path is already laid out. I know what needs to be done. I know the importance of what I have as a role, as a person, to be there. And I think you guys can just be there. Just we can always DM or speak offline I'm available on that. And I'll welcome anyone for any support, any love. It's appreciated. And I think just being here and being in the moment and able to speak is already giving me some sort of relief in a way. But it's not like me trying to get away with pain. I think the pain of my family having this void is something I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just keeping it together, to be honest, with myself and to all of y'all. So if you want, just DM me, communicate. I'm here. And if you have something to help and support me in terms of coping mechanisms or just giving your inputs or your angle to it, because look, I am an open book, and I welcome anyone that wants to help.
I think.
Yes, Coach.
I was just going to say I have a couple things, and I do believe I'm just looking here before I do have your email address, and at Liberty, so I have that, and I will send you. I have a. I've sent you
my Gmail account is just my name, coach@gmail.com as well.
Okay. There's a couple of things. One, I just sent you. God, to me, God never makes any mistakes. And my scripture this morning in the 24-hour Bible study, Morning Possibility with a Cup of Bible, was don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Philippians 4:6. And it to me, that just in reading that, there's no accidents. And then we're about to open up the room where we do a book reading. And the book that we're reading is by Craig Groeschel, and it's called Winning the War in Your Mind. Change your thinking, change your life. And, I put the link up above. So I'm going to ask everybody to head over to that room. I will open it up here in a second. The opportunity in that room today, what the chapter that we're reading is called Rumination and Renewal. Now, I'm not making this up, Kavendra. I mean, Jeanette will back me up on this. This is chapter 6, and it's the next chapter. And here we are ruminating on your cousin and dealing with what's next in the renewal of your mind.
What I want to say is that, when it comes to grief, you need to give yourself time to grieve and heal. So just let it be in the moment and don't try to put a timeline to it. You need to give yourself that time to grieve and to heal.
So with that, Kavendra, I'm just going to shut down the podcast, and thank everybody for being here and listening. Lucia, Emmy, Kate, Harold, please, Jeanette, if you want to click on that link up above and go ahead and open it, I will be there momentarily if you're able to do that. And Kavendra, I invite you to come over and join us. And as we go here, let me just close down the podcast.